He's on.
Kevin, you're on.
Yeah, it also looks like he's
Outdoors.
outdoors.
Are you under the stars? Oh,
Those are on. Okay.
He's muted. You mute
Yes, I
yourself.
am. I am under the stars.
oh my God.
yeah.
We want to see what's in your hand. There's something in his hand, I bet.
We miss you, man.
Thank you, Mark.
Oh.
Thank you. Have a great night. All right, I think, Mr. Chairman, we are good.
Good. All right, let me pull up your note, because I know your note also had a agenda. I don't want to get off track of the agenda. Oh, okay, the hard copy. Got it either way. All right, so call the meeting to order at 6:50. Is this public? Do I have to wait till 7 o'clock? Or just say it's 7 o'clock?
Oh, it's 6:58. You're right. I thought that we were running
We
late.
could talk to Kevin, see how his ride was.
It was good ride up yesterday. Saw the foliage. It was pretty. No traffic.
Really?
Yeah, it's always good. I had heavy traffic on 128, last stretch from 95 where it comes in, Danvers to here, because the
Yep.
sun was just setting.
Yeah.
And it is brutal. You can't see anything. Everybody slowed down to like 10 or 15, 20 miles an hour for the last, 2.5 miles of my trip this afternoon.
My first year here, in my first year in Massachusetts, I went up. It was the day before my anniversary. I bought like a little picture in Rockport for my wife. Coming back right on that stretch, I hit the brakes. The person behind me did not.
Oh,
Crunched the back of the car.
yeah.
Destroy the picture. But
Is there a password for the Wi-Fi?
For the guest one, you want the guest?
Yeah,
It used to be letter, number 1.
wait, maybe I'm connected. I don't know.
no, that's the one. It's not guest. I think it's the regular Wakefield one, right? Is one Lafayette.
Is 1 Lafayette. That's guest.
Yeah, it's the one off yet. I think I connect automatically, but I
Yeah,
don't think I can.
but-
I don't think I can share with other people. Maybe I can.
Oh, okay, so the guest one's not restricted anymore, so.
Oh, it isn't. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep, you're right.
I think we're going to have trouble sharing
Okay. Anyway, now that we stalled for 2 minutes.
unless you log in. I didn't even know then. All right, we stalled for 2 minutes.
We stalled for 2 minutes. All right, 7 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the 22 year-end results. And who's going to start this off? Kevin, Steve?
How do you want to do it? First is public participation, but I don't see any.
I also don't see it on the agenda.
Oh, it was on the one that was posted. Okay, that's fine.
It's on the post?
It's on the posted.
Oh, then it works. All right, nobody here. Moving on. Our record's 100%.
Kevin, do you want to start year end or?
Sure. What I'll do is I'll go over what we had in free cash last year, what we spent, and where we are for this year. Last year, our free cash was certified at $7,853,000. We balanced the budget last year with 2.5 million. We had a couple of library contracts for 30,000 each. We appropriated money out of free cash for the Broadway crossing, 400,000. We did a supplemental appropriation for 202,000 at the this past annual, and police and fire indemnification for 130,000. So we ended last fiscal year. Our free cash was 4,561,000. When we closed out the fiscal 22 budget, we had budget revisions of a little over $1 million. The estimated receipts came in just under $1 million to the good. So revenues were strong.
So you owe
last
me
year.
dinner again, Mr. Gill.
But I will say revenues were pretty much flat between fiscal 21 and 22. They pretty much came in at the same amount from one year to the next, but still they came in very strong. So we just had our free cash certified at $6.64 million. I'm sorry, $6.66 million.
6668204. Yeah, my forecast at 4.6. So we're $2 million ahead of that forecast.
Yes.
That's right. We're going to use that up. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's coming up. Easy come, easy go. I know that one.
Did I see-
6.6 million.
6668
So what did you say you started with the end of last fiscal?
right here.
So we ended last fiscal year with 4,561,000.
4 million?
4,561,000. So we pretty much added $2 million to that. $1 million from budget revisions and $1 million from budgeted to actual revenues.
Okay.
I'll copy this for you before everybody leaves.
Okay.
That's what he's reading from. So as far as the returns from the departments, which is a little over $1 million, the main part of that continues to be benefits and administration or health insurance, which returned $543,000. We've had very, very good luck there over the last few years.
How much was benefits?
543.
That's a little, I was thinking maybe about 300. That's
Yeah.
quite a bit more than I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, and it really, it's all about, people die, right?
Right.
But
also-
they get off the insurance.
But also
moving
steering,
people-
yeah,
steering
steering
people too.
people,
That's the main
cheaper
part.
stuff, yeah.
That's the main part of it. Everybody else really was very, just the departments just really just did their jobs in returning money. Nothing any great shakes, but good, solid everywhere. And I think I included that in the packet, and I'll copy that for you before we go to, if you didn't get it.
So Kevin, so free, local receipts were the same, about 7.8 million?
Yes, they came in at just
You got the
under
exact
7.8 million. They came in at 7,758,000. So they came in at 968,000 over budgeted.
Yeah, and, well, and it's a whopping $19,000 less than the previous year. So
Right.
virtually the same number.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Now, yeah, so my forecast was about 8.1 million, so missed my target, so, all right, so this dinner's on me.
So that's an interesting question though. Is it COVID, because we got a bunch of money from COVID hotel rooms during fiscal 21, right?
Yeah.
Is that where it was light or is it on the restaurant?
Yeah, Kevin, do you have the sources, or, I mean, I can go on a DOR website.
No, I do that. I do have those. In fiscal 22, we budgeted for meals tax 340,000. So that's a conservative number. We brought in 401, so we're 61,000 to the good there. For hotel motel, we budgeted 200,000. We brought in 406.
Wow.
So that was a couple $100,000 to the good. Still not back to pre-COVID numbers, but trending that way.
Yeah, pre-COVID, our in 2019, we were at 8253. So,
Yeah, we're close to
still-
$1 million between the two of
Yeah.
them.
So we're still 500,000 short of pre-COVID.
On meals.
Yeah, meals is a big piece of that. And the other big piece was, well, I have to look at the numbers, but I think vehicle excise taxes were probably pretty high in 19 and not so much 22.
Yeah, in 22, there were 4.3 million on
Excise?
excise.
And what was it, 19?
I don't have 19.
It was over 4.4, so we were down a little bit.
Yeah, so, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll go on a DOR website and pull off the details unless Kevin sends them to me. Because one of my charts is that, local receipts comparison year to year to year. So I haven't gone on the DOR website yet to pull those numbers off.
Yeah, I can send them to you, Dan.
Okay, save me the effort, thank you. Okay, so we finished at 6.7. No.
Right.
Yeah, 6.7 million for free cash. Just plugging that number in to my forecast, this changes everything. I mean, now we're at 6.5 at the end of this current year, 7.2, 7.85, 10.2, 12.7. But I haven't adjusted for the part of this discussion is on,
New growth.
the light department.
New growth was great, 1,000,001.
Yeah.
Nothing for the power station, nothing to speak of, I should say. A little bit for permitting, but no.
1,000,001, so I've got 1,000,007.
Right.
Wow.
But that doesn't include, so that's a timing issue. And from what I understanding, and I know Sully knows better than I do, until it's up and operational, it's not.
Can't get it.
And I guess it's the only industry that tells the DOR, yeah, we're up and operational now, now here's what we'll pay.
Yeah, nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work very closely together.
Yeah.
So if we're at 1,000,001 on new growth, do you have the exact number?
Yeah,
I can
I
plug
do.
it in.
1111551.
That's a lot of ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So then I've got $3 million next year. So am I moving $600,000 that we just lost from 22 and put it into 23? Or is that still $3 million from 23?
I'm thinking. You mean on new growth?
Yeah,
I don't know if we should move it a year or 2 years.
really?
Because what if they don't have that up and operational on January 1, 2023? So it's a timing thing.
Oh, it's not June 30.
No.
I mean, we could talk about that 6 months from now.
Right.
In anticipation of.
We can do that. Yeah, exactly. So that's the question. I know they're pulling the lines.
Because
you
the
know,
duck
which
bank is pretty
the
much
duck
done.
bank is done.
Yeah.
And they're pulling the lines. No disrespect to National Grid, but they don't move as quick as most people do. And what I don't know is, Jim's laughing. What I don't know is they seem to be further behind in the other communities where it's coming from. Woburn's all set.
The duck bank?
Winchester is behind us because Winchester spent a ton of money fighting Grid and then lost.
Right.
And then it went exactly where it was gonna go anyway, which we all knew was gonna happen.
So they're behind.
Stoneham, they're still messing with that. If you look where Elm Street and 28 meet, you see that is like, if you drive through here, that is 28 Elm Street, that is like, there's constant big fencing there because they're having trouble in that area. So what I don't know, maybe you know, does it have to be the whole length? It has to be the whole length, so.
Yeah, it's gotta be carrying.
Carrying the current.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's
So
in service.
So maybe that's a discussion we have later. You know, do we go into fiscal year
Yeah, if
23?
Winchester's way behind,
Yeah.
it's all part of the same
Right.
puzzle, I would think.
Hmm.
You know, unless they graciously want to start paying taxes early on something that they're not receiving any revenue on.
Revenue on, yeah.
Not likely, I would
No,
guess.
not like.
Yeah. So that to me is, I'm not so sure I wouldn't. I think we've got some other great new growth stuff happening.
For 20,
Yeah, the
fiscal
1.1
24.
million that's not good news.
well, it's good.
Without the power plant.
Yeah, but new growth in 21 was 1.2 million. We weren't counting on the power,
Right.
so we actually went down
A little bit of timing on things.
100,000.
Yeah.
90,000. So what do you think? Does I leave 23 at 3 million for now? Leave it alone
On new growth?
on new growth?
Well, we know it's not gonna be,
You mean 24?
I mean, 24.
I mean, oh yeah, it would be, yeah, by the end of 20, yeah.
Yeah. I
During,
mean, I think you can leave it for now.
And then we can just,
just
Be
revisit.
aware.
I know what Kevin's gonna say.
Yeah, Yeah, I know. Yeah, Chicken Little. All right, well, that does.
So again, we're talking about preparing for FY '23 budgeting, and right, this is what we're talking.
Yeah, preparing for FY '24.
Yeah, we're in.
We're in '23. Yeah, I know, it's,
So we had to pull from free cash to avoid a deficit.
right. So we're gonna pull 3.3 from free cash
When all said and done.
when it's all said and done,
I'm just looking at my 22 numbers
right?
and I'm showing a deficit. I'm trying to zero things out.
Yeah,
So to zero things out, I need to put in a positive 378 from free cash. Oops, not $378. That doesn't quite cut it. Okay. All right. So 23. What do you think?
24.
24. Well, I'm looking at a forecast
Okay.
for 23 and beyond.
Yeah, that should have been 24 and beyond.
Ah,
Yeah.
But again, the 3.3 for free cash is for this
For this fiscal year.
fiscal year.
Fiscal
that
year
you're working
23.
In now,
Right.
correct? Yes.
Yeah, this is where if the power station came in, which we were hoping for or counting on,
Yeah.
we would pull less from free cash, but we can't, so.
Yeah.
It's a timing thing, like I said in the,
yeah. So we have an article in the fall then coming up here in
Yeah.
6 weeks. or
Right,
whatever.
last year, our article was for 2.5 million.
this year it's gonna be for 3.3.
And that's against the 6.6 we have.
That's against the
Right.
6.6 we have.
So 3.3 mil free cash pull.
And then that 6.6 will jump back up at the end of the year because
Yeah,
of all the other stuff.
all the other stuff's going on.
Your 24 numbers are probably also, they're
Yeah, this is good.
they're low. Like, because we've got 3%, we've got essentially 3% baked in for government and for no school, and then 4 for potentially for the school.
So I'm gonna,
contracts.
so if I subtract,
And the contracts are all coming.
oh, yeah, that's right.
All
they
the
are.
contracts are this year, right?
And I think,
Teachers,
I think the
police.
teachers in the school, we have police, fire,
Right.
and the supervisors union, which is small.
Right, so you've got police and fire and teachers all this coming year. And,
But I will say, well, this is recorded,
yeah.
They know, is the other unions that I've negotiated with are at 2.5, and that's what they're gonna get.
Okay, I'm with you.
On the COLA, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
they know, that's my,
Right, on,
Policy.
right, but on the COLA, the problem.
yeah.
We all
I
know
know.
the problems.
But your unions are your unions and the school unions aren't your unions.
Right, well, that's another conversation that we have
So
to have.
if you pull 3.3 million in the fall, that leaves 3.4 million as our free cash at the end of the year for 23, plus whatever the,
Right.
the local receipts are greater than expected and
Right.
all the rest of the stuff that happens.
And we're basing our local receipts on 7 million.
Yeah,
right, so.
not 8.
Yeah.
And I will say that the really good news is that they pull the building permits on, although these are one-time things, they pull the building permits on Tarrant Lane. Right now it's a foundation permit. They pull the building permit on the head of the lake, which should happen. Those are big ticket building permits.
And the actual fees for that are one time, but
Right,
the
but,
bottom line to our tax revenue
Right.
is
exactly. But it
forever,
helps build the receipts for that year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, not forever, till the billing falls.
the tax receipts and the expenses commensurately.
Well, it depends on who moves in. If you got a bunch of school kids, you're absolutely right.
Right.
But if we get new growth, like a power line, doesn't affect our expenses at all. Depends what.
Then we got roads.
I don't think they're putting the power line in at the head of the lake, just
Yeah.
guessing.
No, but it all depends what the new growth, what's the source. Some stuff is expensive, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So that's where you are. That's too bad, unfortunate. But it's all about timing, as you've taught me over the years, Dan.
No, I mean, it's still at 3.4 million of free cash. If you look at our total reserves, I bet we're still not too far off
No.
of 10 million.
You got 3.1, you got 3.1 in stabilization, you've got,
So the 6.4,
yeah, so,
and we got, what's the other one we've got?
sped stabilization,
The sped,
right.
OPEB.
OPEB,
we got the OPEB, yeah, we always fall back on that.
I don't know, Kevin, did you want to, while we're talking about this, talk about some of the encumbrances or the,
Yes.
yes, on the school side?
Yeah, on a couple things. So when we close out fiscal 22, if there are items that are in the process of being purchased or projects that are not complete, the money's carried forward from fiscal 22 into fiscal 23. The biggest item was, which would be expected, would be DPW, which has many, most of the capital items fall into DPW. So there's building projects and various other items being built or in the process of being purchased. But the second item, which doesn't include capital, is the school department. They actually carried forward $1.9+ million from operations from 22 into 23.
Wait a minute. Is that legal
Yes.
for
Yeah.
operations?
Yes. If they encumber the money and they purchase, say they purchase supplies at the end of the fiscal year, that they basically, I think what they do is they hold back during the course of the year, and just to make sure that they make it through the year. We don't want to be like one of our surrounding communities. So they hold back, and this year they held back to the tune of almost $2 million, and they used that to purchase quite a bit of stuff at the end of the fiscal year.
Wow.
Which I would assume would be used for supplies for the next year.
I think we were aware of that, the school
Yeah.
subcommittee. I vaguely recall, when they were in talking about what they were carrying over, I thought it was a little larger than in previous years. I thought there was some dialogue to that effect, but.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked if it was legal is that I'm aware of one Rhode Island community that their school department did not pay their bills in the current fiscal year. They waited till the day after to pay the bills for the previous fiscal year.
Yeah,
These guys are doing the opposite.
right. So, and also what they've done is, they'll prepay tuition. So if someone is a sped student that's outplaced, that they can legally prepay tuition, which is some of the money that got carried forward also. Which,
I mean, I can understand a couple $100,000 or $100,000 of this kind of maneuvering, but $2 million out of a
$50 million budget.
$50 million budget? It's like, wait a minute, it doesn't feel right. I mean, what they're doing is robbing Peter to pay Paul by moving money from one fiscal year to the other.
well,
What they could have done is return some of that money to the town, could they not? The 1.9 million, some of it could have come back to the town if they're using it to spend for the following school year?
I don't know.
they could, but I don't think that's ever been the process.
I get that.
They're actually given a budget, and they will usually spend 100% of their budget. If they, some departments do it that they'll either put on a hiring freeze or a spending freeze halfway through the year, just to make sure that they have enough money to get themselves through the year. Then once the end of the year shows up, they'll have a surplus of money that, they'll go out and they'll spend for, textbooks or stuff for the following fiscal year.
Yeah, I get that. I guess it's not a truth in advertising, if you will, in terms of their budget. In other words, they're spending money in fiscal 23 that they thought they were going to spend in 22, because that's what they came to us for, and this is our 22 budget, this is what we need. But they're moving $2 million from 22 to 23.
I
So,
remember 22 is a weird year. Like, so like you're not going to get, like, they ended up not spending about, like, I think they probably got a bunch more. I think it was a lot of it was sanitation and stuff like that we had budgeted for them around that, as well as I think some staff and whatnot that they didn't fill.
yeah,
If I recall correctly, because I'm not looking at it right now, Dan, but I mean, yeah, if they did this every year, if they came, every year they pull, well, now they would potentially have the ability to, but I have a feeling, by the way, if anything, I'd want them to pull money into next year, into 24.
Kevin, do you know what they do last year?
I think it was a large number last year also.
Really?
Yep.
So it's recurring.
At least for the past couple of years. I don't think it's been this high, with the exception of the past this year and last year.
I don't know, it just feels sleazy to me.
That's the way to make friends.
You're the calm one now. What's going on here?
I mean, the whole idea is you budget what you're gonna spend during the year. And if there's 100,000, 200,000, it's carried over, okay, I don't care. That's not a big deal. That's nothing. But 4% of their budget,
Something to certainly look at as we go forward. And I don't know who's on the subcommittee with them, so, okay.
I guess I'd like to know.
I don't
the
feel like I need to have this fight here. is what
Right,
I'm
exactly.
No, of course not. I
No,
love.
I will say I was surprised at the volume at the end of this fiscal year when they were talking about they were carrying over and why they were carrying it over. And there was some dialogue about it. I have this vivid memory, whether it was with the full board or with the subcommittee. And of course, I mean, they had their reasons for it, albeit whatever their reason might have been. I don't disagree. They seem to have had more money than they needed.
Yeah,
Type of thing. But I don't remember the whole story.
yeah. So I'd be
The
curious.
last thing we want them to do, like, this notion that, like, oh, we'd like them to return that to the town.
Like the rest of the departments do?
The rest of the departments report to a different body.
Yeah, I know.
And that's not on me, but to do that, you would have to have this operating assumption that, or would you rather them just, blow the 1.8 million in June
On junk.
on junk? Like,
Of
oh,
course not. You don't want to do that.
No, not understood.
right.
So did they have a lot of stuff that they expected to spend that was covered by ARPA or anything like that?
I don't recall. I don't have solid notes on it that are here, so.
Hey, Kevin, can you get those numbers pre-COVID?
Sure. Yep.
Or maybe I should ask pre-Doug Lyons?
We have some other numbers. Kevin, there's also some revolving accounts that they have. that are
Yeah,
pretty hefty.
they also do have revolving accounts. These are as of 6:30 that, they are elevated over prior fiscal years and where I'm not sure what the school's plans are, but, it's good for the finance committee to know about them and the school subcommittee. Their FY22 preschool account has over 700,000 in it. Non-resident tuition has almost 400,000 in it. Wakefield Academy has over $1 million. Building rental has over 120,000. And they have a fiscal 21 circuit breaker and a fiscal 22 circuit breaker account. The fiscal 21 has over 300,000 in it. And the fiscal 22, the 630 balance was 675,000. So, there is, there is a lot of money sitting there. I just don't know what their plans are with all of these funds. that, but I think,
3 million.
The question is, what should be charged to the revolving accounts?
Yeah, I mean.
That is, and then I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and we looked at the revolving account some time ago, a couple years ago. Then we looked really carefully and they did a full accounting that showed all the ins and outs and the balances and so forth. And if I might be completely all wet here, I think in the summertime is when the revolving accounts are at their highest.
well, I would know recreation would be, but I don't think there's preschool over the summer. That, some of the other ones, they just seem elevated to me. There could be explanations for all these. I just don't know. I don't sit in with their subcommittees when they go over their accounts. But, I think, finance committee should know, and the finance committee's school committee subcommittee should also know this.
Yep.
Yeah, that's over $3 million.
I'll give you copies of those too. Kevin gave me today.
That's like 3.2 million.
Okay. Well, that's good. They might need less money then.
Better to have it than not, I would say.
True. But you don't want it to serve as a slush fund for some other
Right.
stuff.
Right.
If it keeps growing year after year after year, it's like, well, give the parents a break on how much you're charging for these various services.
All right, so we'll get copies of that too.
Yep, I'm gonna make a copy pile right here and make it for you.
Great, thanks.
You got any more cheery news, Kevin?
Well, we're not as bad off as some other communities that are adjacent to us.
Oh, that's
I'll tell you about it. That's an offline discussion.
We'll wait for that later.
Was it damning with faint praise?
Dan, can you update the forecast and send it to me?
Yeah, I just
And-
did.
Okay, and I can play with it and we can go back and forth, Kevin and I.
Well, the only thing I'll put in the exact amount of the new growth.
Right.
I got it down to thousands, but I don't have the dollars.
Okay.
I can look it up. Or is it in the email? I think it was in the email.
It's in the email. Yep.
Yeah, I just update that.
Yeah.
So what else about 24 and beyond?
I think in the fiscal year 24 budget schedule.
But wait a minute, let's back up.
Okay,
You said you're gonna spend 3.3 million in free cash in the fall.
yeah, to balance the budget,
Oh, just to balance?
to balance, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think anything else will hold off until spring, Kevin?
Yeah, there's a couple articles that are either close to or are slightly in a deficit right now. But, it's not something that can't wait until the spring town meeting. That we'd appropriate some more money from free cash to those articles to cover any deficit. We've done that in the past.
Oh, we're only a couple months into it.
Well, one's indemnification of police and fire, so that's,
yeah.
we put some in last year in the Springtown meeting.
So we already know we're behind.
We all know we're gonna be a little bit behind. There was some of the expenses carried forward on one person that had cancer and passed away, firefighter, died of cancer, and there's a few others. So that can probably wait till the spring like we did last year.
Yeah, that's no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And any other,
What's the other one? Medicare specialist?
Yeah, we have a consultant that handles our Medicaid reimbursement. That, we get in substantial monies from that Medicaid reimbursement. And it's short money that we spend, usually like less than 5,000 a year. So we usually do an article every 2 or 3 years for like 10 or 15,000 to cover that cost of the consultant.
okay. All right, so are we on to the next?
The only other town meeting article that,
Oh, you're jumping to number 5? Okay.
no, oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll wait. I was just, my fault.
So,
We can take it out of order if you like.
so I apologize for having trouble keeping up here, but the 3.3 million is to balance the FY '23?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had,
I had always scheduled in my mind 1.5
million because I was gonna, I carried local receipts of 7 million. Dan has them at 8.4 or so, as I recall.
So that was basically it. But we were planning on and hoping that the power line would come in, and
Right.
it didn't. So that's,
The new
that's,
growth was 600,000 less than.
yeah,
What was the new growth? 1.7?
1.1.
What was it supposed to be?
1.7,
No, because we had the power. That's just the power station. It was
Right, I'm just trying to understand.
hopefully gonna be,
Um,
2.5.
I moved that out.
But it was gonna be 2 point something for free cash.
Exactly.
It was gonna be 2 point something for free cash.
1.5 for free
Free cash.
Free cash was 1.5, now
Right.
it's 3.3.
Right,
Right,
right.
That's what,
yeah.
yeah.
so it's doubled as a result of new growth only?
Right.
Only, yeah, basically,
Oh,
yeah.
Basically. And.
Jim, it was 2.5.
2.5,
2.5 last year, 3.3 this year.
right.
Right.
It was what, 8, like
I'm sorry, I was going against
21?
how we
What we budgeted.
budgeted for, or what we finished the last cycle with was not 3.3, it was
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, I figured on getting an
You had
extra.
it, but you
I had
changed
3,220,000 is what I have for 22 last November.
Okay,
3,020,000.
Was that our deficit?
That was the balance of budget.
Yeah.
Now it's 3.3 this year.
So that makes it like, a bunch, not a bunch, but this is our third consecutive year where we're,
Oh, no, many more years than that.
no, I thought we were 0 in 20.
21, it was 400,000. 20 was 4,145,000.
Why do I have?
there was one year that we didn't need it, that I can.
Oh, my freeze pains was back to 11.
Come on, keep up over there.
2011.
No, yeah, so it's been a while. And I mean, I don't think we mind, like,
No, it's a time.
Did you say some of it's coming back at the end of the year?
At the end of the year, we will,
because we'll get more in receipts than we thought.
Right.
Yeah.
and then we budgeted for it.
Budgeted for
And
it.
we'll get returns again.
Right,
So we'll be kind of back up to the same level.
right. It's.
Roughly.
It's a timing thing.
Yeah.
but it does, like,
Don, you still had more thoughts?
yeah.
No, I think I'm okay. So
All right.
just,
I guess, but the problem is the concern I have is I think you've started, like, our forecasting, it's supposed to turn positive when, like, 24,
Well,
right?
at the beginning.
You're positive this year when we're gonna get 3 million.
Spring of 20, I said we're, at this point now, we're in a hole.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. But now, yeah, it's gonna turn, we'll get the 3 million back and then it'll be 6 million, 7 million, 8 million
Cash?
in free cash, yeah. I mean, my forecast still shows us going up. But one of the things you remember when I talked about my forecast, I had inflation, basic inflation at roughly 3%.
Right.
Well, as you know, this last year, they anything but 3%. So how that affects our expenses for the coming budget season is gonna be really interesting to see. Right?
Yeah.
Because one, which is next on our, well, almost next in terms of our budget schedule, but for fiscal '24, I'm afraid that my 3% inflation is woefully inadequate. Now, it might be 3% after '24. If the Fed clamps down on everything and gets us back to their 2.5% their target or 2% their target, we'll be fine. But we could have a real hiccup in '24 on things like, heat. I heard all kinds of ugly stories about natural gas prices and electric prices and,
Well, that's gonna hit us this year. It's not gonna hit us next.
yeah, but our biggest cost, of course, is still salaries.
Right.
So how much pressure the union is gonna put on, because if inflation's running at 8%,
The 2.5 COLA doesn't usually.
doesn't cut it.
Right.
Right,
Right.
but it's not gonna be running at 8% for the next 3 years.
No, I'm talking about a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and I think that's the scary part of it.
Right. Because if the unions say we want, 8% for 3 years, each year,
But do you put in a 5% for expense?
for 1 year.
Yeah, for
And
the
then-
1 year,
and-
Inflation?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
just for this short
Oh,
term,
yeah, for 24.
24 look, you don't want to leave it at 3.
Not for '24.
But I don't think, you think, The question is do you think like, and I don't know what the cost of the people, like the salaries and stuff is gonna be, but if you're forecasting it, do you think you're gonna have to give a straight, if people want 4% or 5 or whatever for the 3 years versus a big number and then 2 small numbers?
Hard to say.
But how do we budget for that? Do we budget for big number and then 2 smalls, or do we budget for it even?
I don't like,
Doing that
Doing what?
on the contracts. I don't like
So what,
giving a big bump and then
Lowering it.
when is police and fire up?
July 1.
Yeah.
2023, and that new contract will start.
Yeah, you're negotiating
I'm in that now.
now
Yeah.
or whatever.
Oh, shit. bad
Yeah,
timing.
so same with Markham and them.
Yeah, no, it's right on the screws.
Right.
The union has a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And as do the non-represented, and they're saying,
Yeah.
Steve, inflation is
I'm going to the grocery store and that,
I'm getting hammered.
getting hammered. I get it. We all are.
Yeah.
And then energy,
way up, that's
How many vacant positions do they have?
at where,
In school or in the town?
I will tell you that we're having, I think we're just gonna put out 3 new entry-level hires in DPW this week. We're having a hell of a time hiring people,
Yeah, so are we.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and these are entry-level positions that,
24
Yeah.
bucks an hour.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm still seeing, we're hiring signs all over
Yeah.
the New England.
I don't know how many the schools have. They had a 20 plus when school started.
Yeah.
for support, I don't know.
So on both sides of the equation then, is it reasonable to think the receipts would be higher at all? Because,
Depends which your receipts. I mean, vehicle,
hotels charging more, for example, and it's not big
Yeah.
numbers, but
Yeah.
it's
$1 million.
Yeah.
right, but is that gonna
Restaurants
be?
charging more.
Vehicles.
6%, Yeah.
The vehicle's
mean-
excise tax, the vehicle costs are up. So that's our biggest piece of our local receipts is vehicle excise.
Yeah,
The
and
vehicle prices are gonna be down,
vehicle, used prices is,
down sharply.
used car prices are starting to fall finally. That was the most ridiculous thing.
new car.
I had to buy a van for work and, I couldn't find the van. So I go to my dealer and I said, well, find me a van. So he finds a van. He says, yeah, well, I had to pay sticker for it from the other guy. He was trying to sell it for $22,000 over the sticker on the windshield. It was a $75,000 van that a plumber drives around in. But the sticker was like 62, let's say. But he said, no, I had to buy it from, Stone and Ford. And it was just because that's what he could get. It wasn't because there's any value to it. It's just, it was ridiculous.
That's the market.
Yeah, but anyway, so the market is supposedly coming back down.
Weakening, yeah, it's
Weakening.
maybe not year over year, it's
No.
maybe not negative, but the last few months, it's
Yeah.
5 consecutive months of down.
But anyway, when they're forecasting out, then and it doesn't have to be across the board, right?
No,
A substantial increase.
I segregate, I've got
Yeah.
about 25 or 30 different
No, I
categories
know, I know.
for my inflation, so I can pick and choose.
So, but I think the big question in my mind is, you have this pot of money, ARPA funds, and how do we figure that into any of
The
this?
ARPA
Or you
funds,
just keep it completely separate as
I completely.
as a project?
The only ARPA funds that
we have,
in the fiscal year 24 budget is a very small amount to phase in.
I think, and then personally, I don't even think I need
To use it there,
and I can,
to help the tax levy out a little bit.
that I have some, what's the OxyContin settlement money coming in? That's been settled, here and there, that we can use to also smooth that through.
Because it's all going for, a lot of that's for healthcare,
Through, I'm sorry?
the health department budget.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, health department is such a small piece of our.
Right, but it does help a little bit.
But it won't be ARPA. ARPA will be mainly used on
I would say,
capital projects.
Yeah.
Impact,
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure impacting
Right.
the public type
Now-
of thing, right? Is that what I read?
exactly. Do we say that, hey, we spent 4 million in capital, in ARPA capital? Do we then say on our capital, regular 2 million a year capital, do we maybe spend 1 million or something like that? Or do we use
excess ARPA funds to,
cover capital when we get through the bubble here. Those are all things we can talk about.
So, but you can't use it to say
Operation.
energy costs have increased by so much. So the incremental cost of
We can
energy,
use,
I
yeah,
can.
we can
use
use,
ARPA
we
funds to
could
do
use the
that.
ARPA funds for anything we want. Except for,
Pension, pre-existing debt, tax relief.
OPEB, there's a few categories.
The other problem we have is debt costs are gonna be, we've got to forecast those higher.
Oh, yeah, the high school.
Yeah.
Debt costs and overall cost.
Yeah,
Construction
cost.
I don't think construction costs are gonna be, construction costs, I think we actually might, well, no, because we'll have to sign the deal before it, but you might get the chance that like construction costs probably peaked on a per person thing because it's,
Well, material prices are coming down. a little
But we
bit.
won't be
Material
taking
prices are
down
coming
trees to
down.
build our high school.
You what?
no, but no, it's
We will be,
more like,
we will be.
Hey, can we build a high school with a 3D printer? Houses.
Do guns.
Yeah.
I can share you the latest cost estimates on the high school too, that I just got this afternoon.
Well, we can see it through the Voc. We just see the Voc numbers.
Yeah,
Oh, what would the vote be?
317.
317? All
I
right.
would put 8. We get back to your cost for the bubble.
For inflation. Am I too high? See what it looks like? 7?
Yeah.
You're the expert.
Bert, we see you on TV. What do you say?
I don't think you put in 8 because I think you have enough costs that are probably not pushed, that are not variable for 24, but it's certainly not 3.5.
Just 5, 6.
Yeah, the question is, towns are going to face this potentially really painful thing if rates stay high, if assessments come down. So if real estate comes down and you're collecting less.
Yeah, but you're not gonna,
no.
you never do.
We'll still get-
The rate goes up.
Yeah, the mill rate goes up.
You'll get your 2.5
You
there.
got a 2.5.
I mean, so you're saying that maybe it should be 6 for this year?
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
And who knows?
Or,
I mean,
well, how can you streamline it?
Granulate it?
Thank you. Can it be 3 and 6? Can it be 5 and 6 where you
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
appropriate, right?
Yeah.
I know that, I know there's a whole bunch of lines in
There's a
there.
whole mess of lines in there.
I've looked at them all and
I can do,
thrown up on my keyboard.
I can do just about anything, because I've got, how many
I
categories?
mean, what do you think, Doug, then, for the short term, just for,
I think you should go. Yeah, I think going 6 for the short term, and even going like 6 and graduating ourselves down, or 6.5 and graduating down to 5.5 and graduating down to 4.5 the following year.
yeah, it feels safer, right?
Yeah. At least we'll be
Yeah, I mean,
looking for the worst.
yeah, certain things I mean, for example, I got inflation and reserve fund. I don't have to mess with that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
In capital, we control capital, so we don't have to spend as much as we would want to. The Northeast Regional Volk, I mean, I got a 12% on them for 23. Are we gonna get hit in 23 for the Volk, or is that gonna be pushed to 24?
I think that'll be pushed out a little bit.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna move that one out.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to tweak it with these guys a bit.
Do we get our? Do we take our max spots at the Voc? Like, I don't know. How
We
does
do
it
now.
work? We do now, and we certainly
We've been
will.
going up. Oh, we'll go up in students. Absolutely.
Yeah, once it's got a fancy building.
So one of mine is, if I got fire and police as one category, but I also have just general employees is actually the start, you know. So that one, right now I've got 3%. But if I say, if you're gonna hold a line and say 2.5% on COLAs,
Right, but then you've got
3%.
steps and stuff, so
I got
that's,
stuff, so that's why I got 3.
yeah.
Right? So then what I would probably look at is materials and supplies and contractors.
Right.
Segregate what portion of those budgets might get 6% for a year, but leave the salaries at 3 and then come up with a weighted number, which might be 4, let's just say. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that approach to it.
They may be weighted a little bit more, just in case.
I'll do the numbers to see.
Yeah, we'll see how they look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what portion of your general public, your general budget is, expenses that we know are gonna go up a lot versus salaries.
We're gonna get money back for the veterans budget next year.
There you go. Aren't you glad you did it now?
Yeah, you're not gonna make that mistake again.
No, I am
Getting
not.
it back,
I
and
am
we're gonna
not.
reduce it.
I am not gonna.
There's $1 million coming there, Kevin.
I am not, well, it's not that high, but.
No, for the two of them.
175,000.
Yeah, was that what it was? Yeah.
So how much was actually spent in the veterans last year?
Anyway, I digress.
You digress.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
We killed that.
We killed that.
All right. 24 budget schedule.
I think that'll be basically the same as last year. I don't see any change.
Changes, do you, Kevin?
Nope. Same thing.
No.
The rollout and the meetings.
Roll out in the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
I will say that I am, one of the items that
May go up. Health insurance, we got to keep an eye on that. You probably know.
Well, that's where your ARPA money's coming.
Health insurance.
Oh, health insurance.
insurance. Yeah. I thought I said, I thought I saw something that came across the other day that was talking about a 12% increase across the board.
What?
Well, it wasn't from GIC. It was just like in the general industry.
Industry.
Well, that's the thing. The general industry, I mean, I've been doing healthcare consulting for almost 40 years. And the industry keeps saying it's going to go up, 8%, 10%. And when you actually look at the numbers, it's more like 3%, 4%. And one of the things that's happened, this is my observation, it's very limited, is that employers make adjustments. When they hear we're going to hit you with a 12% increase or 10% increase, they say, fine. They go, Mr. Employee, you're going to not pay $100 a month for your co-insure, for your part of the premium copay. It's $200 or $300. And so employers have always been able to knock that 10%, 12% number down to 3 or 4. And I gotta believe it's going to continue.
Well, I can tell you this, as a small business guy, I meet with the broker once a year, and the good state of Massachusetts some time ago, it's full disclosure. So if I'm giving 65% coverage and the rate goes way up and I want to only give a 60% coverage, that's full disclosure. So the employees get to see and figure out that I'm giving less and you're paying more because I didn't want to absorb that cost. I'm just explaining,
So will us.
Yeah.
my point is, there were years ago that was not fully disclosed.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
there was some
yeah,
changes
yeah,
to
yeah.
that effect.
No, you're absolutely right.
Hiding it or burying it.
Right.
But I will tell you that I had a 1,000 and a 2,000 deductible plan, and I had to increase the deductibles because I was looking at 11%.
Yeah.
And I took a 3.5% after I raised the deductibles for
Exactly.
everybody.
Yeah.
And that's reality.
And that's what's been going on. And the
Yeah.
other thing that's been happening is that certain plans get dropped.
Yeah.
For example, Maya gets
Yeah.
switched out to a GIC.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of employers do that. And of course, I'm working with cities and towns, but
Yeah.
I'm sure the private sector does the same thing because they used to. If they drop plans that are too expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the GIC will squeeze that
Oh, they squeeze big.
by increasing copays,
Yeah.
things like that.
And they'll argue with the carriers. If you get too
Exactly.
uppity.
Well, you get buying power, right?
Exactly. They'll drop, they just dropped, what was the one they just
Fallon.
dropped? Yes. It's like they'll drop.
Although
somebody
Fallon will
just to-
say that they wanted to leave.
Why wouldn't they?
They were making no money.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. The out there industry is saying 10 or 12, but the reality is it doesn't go up that much at the end of the day.
Well, I hope that continues. It's been out,
Yeah.
I just read it.
I mean, I've seen it going for the last 30 years. Anyway. Okay.
Item 6, Mr. Chairman,
Oh, what about 4?
I think we said, what do you want? Tri-board meeting?
Tri-board
Oh,
meeting.
Okay, I'm off because I have
You have a different,
I have the-
different
public
agenda.
participation, yeah.
I have the one that's posted.
The agenda.
Tri-board prep is October 27th. That is on the stage at the Galvin,
Okay.
or hybrid if people that people don't have to come. I have been working on kind of the PowerPoint that we've done before, and I'll send it around and we'll drop stuff in.
Yeah, I haven't sent that data out to the team. I gotta put that out there.
That's everybody, that's the whole finance
Right.
committee?
Finance committee, school committee.
Town council.
Got like,
I gave you some stuff for that.
In the past you have, yeah. I'm gonna send it to you and say the slides, here are the slides I need.
I gave you the slide that you're looking for.
do we get any attendance at that?
I think a lot of people watch it on TV. We did have one year where one union came and made their plea for a bigger contract and then, then left.
Yeah,
And-
a bunch of teachers.
Right.
Teachers union had sent
We
about
had-
50 people.
So
We had,
that
we had,
seemed-
we had people crying on the stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, then they got off and left.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No members of the FinCom.
Where was I?
I must skip that.
No, not a huge participation, I guess, to answer your question. It is taped and I have heard people say they've watched it. I will say that.
I assume that's 7 PM, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try board.
Board.
And in terms of the PowerPoint and presentation, help me out. I remember who presented. Did you just do the whole thing?
I had the whole PowerPoint on one spot and I just clicked for people there on stage.
Right. And then who did all the talking?
I think you and Jim did. The school committee said a couple of words.
Did they?
The chairs say a couple of words. I say a little bit, and superintendent says a little bit.
It was really like 2 slides each max. something
Yeah,
like
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. All right, so we'll just have, why don't we get this presentation
We'll
together?
divvy it up like we
We'll
did
divvy
last
up who's gonna cover each piece. Okay. Good enough. Articles.
We talked about them. There'll be the town report. There'll be free cash. One article I'll also bring to the board, to the finance committee, because I think you like to weigh in on these things, is the easement that will be hopefully granted to the MLD for the power. It's not a plant. What is it? A power storage place. What do we call that?
But the battery storage?
Battery storage.
Battery storage.
On,
site?
up on Hemlock Road, which will feed both the Voc and the high school, which will store, as backups by solar, will be fed by solar energy from both schools going into it.
Is it federal money?
No, light department money,
Our money.
Our money.
ratepayer money.
Not going in the pilot.
Both schools, no, it's not going, both schools will actually not have to put in their own
Backup
emergency
generation.
generators.
Yeah.
For that, so that'd save each school probably
Yeah.
$750.
You raised a really good question I've got. So I added solar to my place in Maine. And they have a rule that says you got 12 months to use it or lose it. So I've tried to get enough solar panels, so I get net zero. In New Hampshire, if you generate more solar than you use, you get a check. At wholesale, but not.
You sell it back to the grid.
Yeah, basically it's selling to the grid. And I was talking to somebody who's, I think they live in Marblehead. And Marblehead has their own light department, and they wanted to put in solar. And Marblehead Light said, we will not participate. Won't let you on the grid. We won't let you do anything. You're persona non grata. We're not going to support solar.
Oh, Marblehead Light, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's.
yeah.
right. So now MLD, so because my solar system up there, I figured out because CMP, which is the local electric company, I've got a 25 to 30-year life expectancy on my solar panels. When I put them in 2 years ago, I expected to pay back in about 15 years. CMP has raised their rates an incredible amount. I'm down to a 10% payback. I'm gonna have 20 years of free electricity. So I'm thinking about, okay, I'd love to, can I do something here in Wakefield in solar and so forth? I have a south-facing
Yeah.
roof. And does our light department participate in solar? And does anybody in town have solar?
They do now.
They do
Do
now.
now. That's a fairly new phenomenon, last 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they do
And
participate.
they're encouraging it, yeah.
Right, but they're not one of the places that like you call up and that like the various and sundry solar places that harangue you to like get it put in and then you tell them, oh, I'm municipal light and they're like, no, never mind. We just have to deal with N-Star or Grid
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
That's my question. So, all right, so it's something I'm gonna look into. Because I think electricity rates are really gonna go through the roof coming forward.
Oh, yeah, well,
They are already, yeah.
Yeah,
They're gonna
most
get
of it's created by
worse.
fossil
I mean,
fuel, right? So it's gonna
the price
Well-
of putting in solar is getting cheaper and cheaper to the point that my nephew in Michigan is putting it in. His math came out to 6-year payback.
wow.
6 years, and he'll have 20-some years of free electricity.
Your roof and maintenance in the last 30 years?
Yeah, he's gonna.
No, I just meant yours, like your solar panels are gonna last 30
But
years.
yours are on the
Yeah,
ground,
25 to
right?
30 is the
Is that yours on the ground?
Yeah,
Yours were in the woods, right, or something, I remember?
yeah, I had to clear the woods,
That's what
but
I
yeah,
meant,
yeah, mine are, it's a ground install.
Cool. The other article or other couple of articles we'll have, one is, you may recall, 3 years ago, we had a tax relief article for seniors who also were eligible for the circuit breaker on the state income taxes, and we matched that within the tax levy. That was a 3-year deal because the legislature, God forbid, we are able to tax ourselves. So we will re-up that, which really is a net zero for a town. However, it does, it makes you our individual if you're not part of that, your
We have
taxes.
an article.
An article to re-up that.
Do we need a sped stabilization article?
No, I would say no, based on all of this money.
The free cash over there.
Yeah.
So I'm confused. We're doing this, what, are we doing it for all seniors or just seniors?
They have to qualify for the circuit breaker. The state circuit
okay,
breaker.
okay.
So you gotta be over 62, their income has to be.
They can't make too much.
They can't make too much, the assets can't be too much.
We're not giving you a break.
They're not giving you a break there.
You guys.
So is there any need for a meeting before them?
I think we should have a meeting so your FinCom can take a vote on these.
Right.
And we can figure out a date.
We vote on the free cash article.
Yeah, right, anyway, and I think the last one, Kevin, and the last one is my screw up, I'm gonna take blame for it.
No, that's,
Yeah,
Oh, there's another article.
yeah, but it's a net, again, a net zero game. When we did the capital, the capital expenditures in the May town meeting for water and sewer, my motion was to take it out of receipts, not retained earnings. So I just have to undo, it should have been out of retained earnings or their free cash, so to speak, their reserves,
Reserve account.
right? Is that,
right, that's correct.
so I kind of, that's my screw up. I'll take the,
So is it safe to say that, in the spring, I thought there was a couple of items that we thought we might include the budget, but deferred to the fall. So based on the lack of new growth, we're not going to take up any of those items.
No.
what were the other ones?
The capital items, you mean?
I don't know, remember. I just remember there was.
There was the
something
sped stabilization possibility. I'm not gonna take that. I'm not gonna.
That was,
think we
maybe
should.
that's where it was.
Yeah, that was one.
I thought maybe we thought about putting a little more into OPEB. Maybe that might have been, because I think, didn't we cut OPEB by 100 grand?
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest doing it.
Yeah, well, I think we're good there. I'm still waiting on the report from Siegel, but I did talk to Siegel this past week, and we
22
should
or
be fine.
21? 22 or 21?
20, the new report as of 7/1/21.
Yeah. So
So-
the 22 report, your roll forward is going to be really ugly because the GI, the PRIT account took it in the shorts,
Sure, yeah.
May and June. You
The
don't, you
roll
don't,
for, the
you
roll
don't want to
forward,
see the 22 numbers.
right.
Well, let's see, minus 21, so they should be what, Doug? Minus 11 or so?
Yeah, well, no, because their bonds got hit bad too.
Yeah.
But they're a big private equity piece, which they're able to conceal some of the losses.
Probably between
The first
11 and
half of the
14
year.
in the whole. That's the numbers I'm seeing on the June 30 reports I've done so far for 22 is somewhere around the 11, 12, 14% down
Yeah.
from a year prior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to know, should I have bought Nike stock?
I'm wrong, just early.
I think I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
I just have one question or point, well, you guys are all here. There was a question last year about reviewing we do a great job reviewing budgets. We wanted to review the cash. There were members that wanted to see and have dialogue about both sides of the ledger, if you would, right? So we talk about it, I think, to a point, but it's something we should, Kevin and you and I or whomever, but Ed, for example, and a few others, I was looking at some notes from last year and sort of some action items. And one is to kind of go over the forecast, but it's almost, I don't know, some people fully understand it and some people just listen. But there was questions about, what are the revenue sources and how do they look? How do they look year over year? How do they look like, so I don't know what the right answer is, but I'd be looking to see something like that, as we get into the cycle, later in the fall. What are the revenue sources? And maybe we go over it and we just, other people didn't realize it. I don't know.
I mean, I can take what I put together in my, presentation, because I have revenue sources from the state, taxes and local receipts. And I break down local receipts between the vehicle and what I can do is maybe I can take those, and it's like 4 different slides. We can put it like into one.
Yeah.
Because we can break down local receipts in almost any category you want.
Right. I keep about, I think, 15 of them.
Yeah.
From vehicles all the way down.
And maybe the only thing we don't talk about enough is the tax levy. I don't know, maybe it is covered enough, but there was a few questions early on.
Well, I think the questions are, why do we figure we're going the full 2.5% in the beginning?
Yeah.
That's the question is, well, how do you know that? Well, experience, I guess. I mean,
Or some people would argue default,
Right, yeah.
You do it to do it type of thing.
No, but we have had a number of years, 6, 7 years, that we have not gone
Right.
full levy,
Right.
depending on factors that come in late, new growth.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, I mean, I understand the question, but how do we extend the budget cycle? We have to pass a budget by,
Oh, no, yeah.
we don't have all the figures. I mean, sometimes you don't have a state budget.
The one
yeah,
thing we
state
don't
budget.
have that I've always wondered about is I know we've not gone the full 2.5 number of years, but that's just lying in reserve, right? It's
Right.
like you can.
It's excess capacity.
Right.
Excess
Question is, what do we have?
And maybe we do pull it the next year anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's a selectmen's, town council vote.
right.
Yeah, no, I know, based on what, I think is some of the.
Right.
And they basically don't have a choice. Right? I mean, like this year, you could say, hey, we're either gonna go the full levy, right? Which I would suggest that we do, or we use more free cash, which I suggest that we don't.
Right.
I mean, if we had a year that we were using 50,000 or 500,000 in free cash, I might say, hey, maybe we do wanna give,
Right.
A break.
a break, but
Yeah, and if you see that, as we see that out in the forecast, then those are
Right.
things that would,
I think that's what we do with the forecast, I guess, is we maybe show some of those outlying years.
Right, we don't forecast excess capacity, but I don't think we should.
No.
Well, the excess right now is only a few $100,000.
no, what I'm saying, the
we can
forecasting
say-
the lack of use of free cash, we're
Right.
forecasting
yeah,
that.
right.
Not,
That may be a discussion, a more serious discussion in the next few years. So we had to get through this bubble, right?
yeah.
Power line comes in and unless,
You get a recession, that would.
Right.
All bets go off.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
We're in a recession for those that don't realize.
Recession.
are we in one? Is that the economic? Isn't that the?
No, we're not in one.
No? Okay.
Oh, if a Republican was in office, would be in a recession. Let's be clear.
I've got a sign for a Republican.
I know.
Front lawn.
I'm just trying to be
I'm
clear.
just saying that no, the notion of a recession, people are you're having a hard time finding people to work. Like you don't get that in a
You
recession.
don't get that in recession. You don't have a low.
Yeah, but that's a conundrum.
Yeah, but that's the one thing that I would agree with that COVID impacted. COVID created umpteen open positions that are slowly going to get whittled away without people losing their jobs. So that's what I see as the two pieces of that. You were undersupplied on people already, And so I'm just gonna hire less if I get financially impacted.
Right,
right?
you're
So-
saying the capacity, I get it. And then, but yeah, you lost a whole lot, like a lot of boomers left the work.
Demographics are a huge change.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Demographics. I know a bunch of my,
Yeah.
peers who said, I'm out of here.
All done.
I'm done. So now the companies are trying to replace these guys. They can't find people because we're closing our borders.
Closing the borders. All right, I'm done.
All right.
I know,
Done.
at the Brigham,
Yeah.
they've got 20% less slots for surgeries because they can't find the people to staff the
Right.
hours.
Staff a surgery.
Right.
Can't staff a surgery. That's scary.
Yeah, so they don't have the cost, but they don't have the revenue coming in either.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Kevin, you good?
It's like my office.
Good.
Kevin's good.
Any committee comments? I think we're commented out.
What was the increase in was it chapter 70 we got?
Yes,
That's a pretty good number.
that was a good number, yeah. State increased. The bulk was in chapter 70.
About $1 million.
Yeah. Chapter 70, was 7.8 million this year, and it was 6.7 the year before. And unrestricted local aid was 3.9 million, and it was less than 3 the year before.
August getting ungodly sum of money, was that last year? And
They got a big bump in chapter 70, but they never did well there, so I didn't begrudge it for them. I hate it when, well, I'm not gonna say it.
Read the name Reading out loud.
No, I'm not gonna say it. It's now that it's recorded.
Undeserving.
I have that somewhere for you. Someone makes a motion to adjourn, I can shut it off.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Saying goodbye to the.
Bye, Kevy.
All in
All
favor?
right. Good night,
Have a good
everyone.
weekend. Bye.
You
We
too.
adjourn 8:09. Thanks, Kevin.
Take a-
All right. Have a good night.